Hey, you summoned a lesser maker. Today, we're going to make a whole table worth of terrain for Mordheim or D&D or whatever game you're playing, only using cardboard and popsicle sticks. I've gone ahead and printed out this template. You can grab this for free on my Patreon. There's no subscription needed. I like to overcomplicate things with 3D printers a lot, but this isn't necessary to get something that looks good. And that can kind of gatekeep a lot of the things. So let's just jump into it and we'll make something like this relatively quickly. After you print your template out, you're going to need to cut it out. And then I transferred mine to a piece of chipboard by sticking it down with some blue tack and then taking it outside to spray paint it. The sheets of paper will act as a mask so that I can cut out the shapes. While that was drying, I got my cardboard ready. I only used half of a box for this. And then I started cutting out my shapes. And this is tedious. You might not want to do this twice, but it made it a lot easier to trace onto the cardboard later. And then I had all the shapes. I kind of just laid them out, tried to make it pretty efficient. And then I was able to cut out the shapes again in cardboard, and I was able to get all these pieces out of one short side of the cardboard. Side note, don't forget to leave a like and a comment. That really helps me out. Now that you have all these main pieces cut out, it's time to plan out the building. So you're going to want to trace out the doors and the window templates, cut them out while they're still flat, and then after that, you're going to be gluing them together. None of these pieces are rectangles, so you're going to have to make some of your own. These buildings will need 2-inch strips to kind of help connect them up a bit. I didn't include this on the template because you can make the flat, square, rectangle pieces to make your own buildings as you want. And don't be afraid to break the mold here. One of the small buildings I cut out on a crease, so I made it kind of a triangular jut out. And then on one of the other buildings, I wanted to make a bridge. So I cut out a rectangle, I bent it up, and then I cut 2 holes on 2 sides of the buildings, and then I glued 2 buildings together. Just have some fun with it, and then you're going to have some more interesting buildings. And don't be afraid to look at some reference photos and try to recreate them. I like to look up Tudor houses and other medieval type fantasy buildings. Harry Potter is a really good reference as well. Okay, let's go over how I'm clipping my popsicle sticks. I'm using my sprue cutters, and instead of clipping it all the way through the popsicle, I'm using it kind of as leverage to pop them off. And I've seen it where people burst their clippers, and it could be kind of dangerous. So the important thing to remember is you're not trying to snip through it. You're just using it to break off the popsicle stick. If that's something you're afraid of though, I got copper wire cutters, and you can do this the same way. It's a lot easier to pop through it because it's made for wire, but you can also just use the same thing to kind of leverage cut this. If that's too hard for you though, the easiest way to cut through popsicle sticks is with tin snips, and you can get these relatively cheaply, and these just cut right through, no problem. Even the jumbo stuff. No matter your method for cutting or trimming off these popsicle sticks, you're just going to be taking off the round edges, and you're going to need a lot of them to do it the same way I'm doing it. I'm going to be planking all of these buildings kind of like shiplap or wood siding. If you wanted to do this faster, you could frame out your buildings like a Tudor home. The way I'm doing it, I think makes the cardboard much more durable for long-term use. The basic idea here is to add a layer of hot glue over the plank you just applied and then slightly overlay it. You don't have to make all your siding horizontal. I think it's a good rule of thumb to kind of frame out your windows in a vertical method. The real thing to keep in mind is you want to cover up the corrugated side of your cardboard as much as possible just to keep the illusion a little bit that these buildings aren't made out of a cheap material. I tried this out on the smallest one first, so I could get the hang of it, and this was a really good practice step. I also added some damage so that the models could go inside as well, and that was something I didn't do until I had the buildings basically shaped out first. I went to the dollar store to look for some plastic details to put on these buildings that kind of hide some mistakes that will inevitably happen. They kind of steal the show, and I found these Halloween plastic rings. The whole point of this is to add texture, and the thin popsicle sticks don't have a lot of texture on their straight edge, so I do like to get the jumbo popsicle sticks and crack them in the middle long ways. This will give it a really nice rough edge when I'm stacking them on top of each other, just giving it a slightly more interesting texture and adding a little bit more variety instead of just straight planks. When you're adding damage to these buildings, it's always nice to have a mini around just to make sure that the holes are big enough to put in a miniature. While doing this project, I think I went through 3 packs of the thin popsicle sticks and maybe 4 packs of the jumbo popsicle sticks, just to coat the outside of everything. And don't forget to add some detail. It really goes a long way to kind of break up the texture. In my opinion, doing the roofs with jumbo popsicle sticks only makes this look a little bit more convincing. And as a bonus, it's the last step of the building process, so it goes a little bit faster. Here's a comparison doing it the other way. I did it as kind of a way of adding variety, but I just prefer doing it with jumbo popsicle sticks. As a final step to the building process, I coated all the exposed cardboard with PVA glue. This just seals everything in and makes sure that it's immune to moisture. Because I didn't have to worry about foam, the next step was just to prime everything with black spray paint, and I made sure that it was pretty liberal so that there was no wood or cardboard color peeking through. And the way I like to paint wood is I like the wood to look really dead and dried out, and kind of a brownish bluish gray. This is kind of the color we're trying to go for. Trying to work it into stripes and not one color. You're brushing in the direction of the wood. So if I were to brush this way down, the wood grain would be going in the wrong direction. I want it to kind of go in the direction of the wood plank. As I'm finishing this up, I'd like to thank my Patreon members. As a thank you, I'm going to be starting work again on the magazine. It's been a while, and I'm aware that I kind of dropped the ball there. I got a lot more wood planks to paint, so I think we'll catch up in a little bit. So this terrain is going to be perfect for a Mordheim game, but in honesty, I'm actually building this for a D&D campaign that I'm going to be running soon. There's a city in the middle of this demiplane, and monsters are constantly trying to get in. So they're using these golems. Here, let me grab one. They're using these necroforged golems to repel the monsters and slowly regain more of the city. So this is some of the ruins on the outskirts. This D&D moment is actually sponsored by a company called Scented Realms. Scented Realms is basically establishing the smells of your D&D campaigns. Like if you've ever wondered what it smells like to be in the home of a hobbit, just by adding a little bit more atmosphere. So go check out scentedrealms.com. And don't forget to paint the metal details a pop of color. I like to do this like a Statue of Liberty green. This allows it to steal the show a little bit, draw the eye from any mistakes that may or may not be on your model. And that's the last step.
Thanks so much for watching. I hope you like the end result. I think these are perfect for any game that you're playing. And if you like the video too, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to help me get to 7,000 subscribers. I really appreciate you guys. Have a good one.